All right, so if you're just starting out at a clinical research organization or a CRO, you're about to hear a three-letter acronym all the time: TMF, the Trial Master File. In this explainer, we're going to unpack the one tool that organizes it all, the TMF reference model. Let's jump in. First, let's just think about the scale of the problem here. A single clinical trial creates a literal mountain of documents. We're talking everything from a doctor's CV to critical safety reports. It can be millions of files. So how on earth do you keep all of that organized, findable, and ready for an auditor to inspect? Well, the industry's answer to all that chaos is a standardized framework called the TMF reference model. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a toolbox. It's a pre-organized system with a designated spot for every single tool or document you could possibly need. It's designed to turn total chaos into a perfectly organized workshop. Okay, so your organization has this industry-standard toolbox. Now what? Well, the very first decision your company has to make is how you're going to use it, or even if you're going to use it at all. This is the first big fork in the road. This flowchart here lays out that initial choice really clearly. The first decision is basically a yes or no. Are you going to formally reference the model, or are you going to go your own way? Now, while going it alone is an option, it's pretty rare. Most companies choose to build on this industry standard.
So, to put it simply, referencing means you're using the model as your starting point, your foundation. No referencing means you're building your own system from scratch, which can be pretty risky. And that's exactly why almost everyone, from the biggest pharma companies to the CRO you might be working for, chooses one of the referencing paths. It just makes way more sense to use a shared blueprint.
So let's say your company has decided to use the toolbox. Awesome. The next question is, how? Turns out there are three main strategies for setting it all up, and they range from taking it straight off the shelf to building a completely custom version. First up, the simplest approach: complete adoption. It's exactly what it sounds like. You take the TMF reference model and you use it as is with zero changes. This is a fantastic option for new companies or maybe tech vendors who don't have some big complicated system already in place. It's just clean, simple, and ready to go. The second strategy is called cross-referencing. This is for organizations that already have their own TMF structure. Instead of throwing all that work away, they map their existing system to the reference model. The main reason for doing this? To do a gap analysis, to make absolutely sure they haven't missed any essential documents. It's all about lining up what you have with the industry standard. And the third approach, customization, is definitely the most hands-on. Here, you start with a standard or vanilla model, and then you adapt it. You might add new things, get rid of some things, or rename stuff to perfectly match how your company works. This is for organizations that want to turn that standard toolbox into their own perfect toolkit. So let's dig into how that customization process actually works. It's not like one person just makes all the decisions in a dark room. It's a really well-planned effort that involves teams from all across the company. This diagram gives you a great bird's-eye view of the process. It kicks off with a big meeting to get everyone on the same page. Then it breaks down into smaller, really focused groups. Each department, like clinical, regulatory, you name it, gets to say how their part of the TMF should be set up. Then it all gets brought back together and reviewed. Let's just list out those steps to make it crystal clear. Number 1, that big cross-functional kickoff meeting. 2, the different zones of the model are handed out to different teams. 3, those teams meet up to talk about their specific sections. 4, all that feedback gets collected and consolidated. And finally, number 5, the new, shiny, customized model is sent out for a final round of review.
Okay, we've covered the high-level strategy. Now let's zoom way in and look at the actual stuff that goes inside the TMF. The real nuts and bolts of your toolbox.
So in the TMF world, you're not just going to hear about documents. You're going to hear the term artifact. An artifact is just any piece of information in any format that helps tell the story of the clinical trial. So think of these as the individual tools themselves, the wrenches, the screwdrivers, the hammers, that are all stored inside your TMF toolbox.
So how do you figure out which tools you actually need for a specific job? You use a checklist, just like this one. This table helps teams go through every single potential artifact and decide whether to keep it for this particular trial. It also helps classify if a document is core, meaning absolutely essential, or just recommended. This becomes the master list defining everything that needs to be in your TMF.
And once you've figured out what artifacts you need, you gotta track them. This table here is the management system for that. It answers those critical questions. Who is the owner of this artifact, and where is its location? Is it in the electronic TMF system, or is it filed somewhere else? This makes sure everyone's accountable and nothing ever gets lost.
So that's the theory. But how do your future colleagues out there in the real world actually use and feel about this TMF toolbox? Let's take a look at some survey data. I want you to just focus on this number for a second, 64%. This represents the single most common way that organizations adapt the TMF reference model for their own use. Any guesses what that might be? It's adding new artifacts. This survey shows that a full 64% of organizations add their own custom artifacts to the model. What that tells us is that while this standard model is a great place to start, most companies find they need to add a few of their own specialized tools to their toolbox to get the job done right. And what's the overall opinion on the model? Well, across the board, whether we're talking about its structure, its level of detail, or its accuracy, the overwhelming response from people in the industry is that the model is sufficient. It might not be perfect, but it's seen as a solid, reliable, and really effective foundation. Bottom line, it works. So there you have it. The TMF reference model isn't just some boring filing system. It's the standardized, collaborative toolbox that makes modern clinical research possible. It's what ensures quality and tells the complete story of a trial. So the real question is, now that you know how the toolbox works, how are you going to use it to